Hello friends, welcome back to another Bluebird Art Studios video. Today we're making a watercolor and oil pastel leaf artwork, perfect for fall, so let's jump right in and get started. First off, grab your pencil and we're going to start drawing the leaves. Begin your first one by sketching a curved stem, and then from the stem add 2 veins on either side. Now we're going to outline these veins with a soft, rounded shape to give the leaf its body. As we get to the end, curve this shape back into the base of the stem. For our second leaf, draw a slightly curved stem and then add 2 big veins near the bottom and 2 smaller ones closer to the top. Now we're going to draw little arrow shapes at the ends of each of the veins. You should position these slightly above the tips of each of the lines, just like I'm doing here, almost like giving them little hats. Then connect the tips using curved lines to form the edges of the leaf's body. Make one more arrow as you connect this back into the base of the stem, and then you're finished. For our third leaf, draw the stem first and then outline it with an organic zigzag line to form a rough leaf shape, just like I'm doing here. Once the outline is done, add diagonal veins which connect the stem to each point on the zigzag. Next, let's try a longer, thinner leaf. Start with a long stem and then add 3 veins on either side. At the ends of these veins, draw curved caps that look like little hats again. For the main tip of the leaf, make the hat just a little bit bigger than the other ones. To connect these caps, we're going to curve the lines in the opposite direction and give the leaf its body. Our fifth leaf is going to be a little bit simpler. Draw a stem with 2 curved lines on either side for the body, and then add 4 diagonal veins on each side. Finally, for our last leaf, draw a long stem with 3 veins on each side, and then add the arrow-like caps at the end of each vein and connect the ends of the arrows with straight lines to form the edges. Be sure to connect everything back to the stem for a finished look. Once all of your leaves are drawn, grab your black oil pastel and carefully trace over all of the lines. You can outline the stems, veins, and edges of each leaf. You'll need to go over your lines a few times to make them solid, but keep them thin and neat. After this, it's time to paint, so grab your watercolors, some clean water, a sponge, and your brushes. I'll be using medium and large round brushes for this. Before you add any paint, wet the first leaf with clean water. So you'll dip your brush in the water and then lightly tap it on the sponge to remove any excess. Once the leaf is wet, begin mixing your colors. For the first one, I'm doing an ombre from red to yellow. I'm using a dabbing technique with the paint to let it go where it wants to on the wet leaves. Follow the same steps for every leaf, wetting the leaf, mixing your paint with water, and then applying it gently, letting the color spread. For each leaf, I'm doing different ombres. Some of them I am making the tips a darker color and then adding more water and letting that blend together. You can also lift your paper and move it around to let the paint move naturally that way. Continue painting each leaf one at a time using different colors for variety. You can use red, orange, yellow, green, and even purple. Remember to wet each leaf and use your sponge to control how much water is on your brush so that the water does not get out of control. As you move on to other leaves, you can experiment with layering. Let's say you paint a leaf yellow first, then once it dries, you can go back and add a bit of red around the edges to make it look like it's changing colors. These details will add some depth and variety to the artwork by the time that you're finished. As I finished my last leaf and looked back at the artwork, I decided to add another layer of vibrant colors to some of the leaves. Watercolors tend to dry lighter than they look whenever they are wet, so feel free to do this if you think it needs it. Now, once all of the leaves are painted and dried, it's time to start the backgrounds. For this, I got a glass of fresh water and began painting everywhere around the leaves before mixing up my blue. To add texture for this part, I alternated between applying the paint in smooth strokes and then dabbing it onto the canvas. After you've finished painting the paper, you can even pick it up to add more texture by tilting it around. The paint can sometimes pull away from the leaves, so I went back in and kind of tight-lined it with my paintbrush. At this point in our artwork, continue carefully dabbing on the color and tilting it until you're happy with the effect that it gives. And that is all we have for you today. Thank you for painting with me. If you had fun, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Bluebird Art Studios for more of our projects. We'll see you next time. Happy painting!